Welcome to Defichain Demystified, where we dive deeper in special topics around our project. The goal is to bring some answers to some tricky questions and maybe bust some myths. We are
Kügi,
and Mark. Today's topic is...
why is the dUSD so complicated?
Good afternoon, Kügi. How are you?
I'm perfectly fine. How are you?
I'm very well. Thank you very much. We have an exciting topic here today. And I think today we really want to bust some myths, or at least bring a lot of clarity into that topic. A lot of people said USD, exciting, interesting, scary, whatever. Why is it like this? Why do we need all these rules? Why do we need a DUSD? I think that's one of the main questions. Why do we need that thing that causes us maybe headache? And I think the idea is that you're going to explain today, why do we need it? Why do we steer it? What are the problems? And whatever. And I'm sure you prepared some awesome graphics. So I would say we jump right into these graphics. What do you think? So I just make it a little bit larger here. Good. Perfect. Okay. Exciting. So here we are, Kügi. Let's go.
Yes. Why is the DUSD so complicated? So usually we start with the history. The history of DUSD is complicated.
And the history of many
misunderstandings.
Yeah?
I'm not. Yeah, I mean yes and no. Let's stick to the classic history of DUSD. Is a history full of misunderstandings. Let's first go a bit into the why do we have that and what are the stuffs. I tried to collect some of the most answered questions or misunderstandings in that regard. Let's just go through them. First thing that we usually have, or that many people ask, is this: why do we even need a DUSD?
Mm-hmm.
Because we have a D-stock system. The whole point of a decentralized stock exchange, where you can trade decentralized stocks, is nice and it's good and that's cool. But why do we need the DUSD? Why not just take DFI and pair everything with DFI as we have it in the crypto space? And the main trouble there is that if we pair, for example, Tesla with DFI, you pair that on an automated market maker, means that this pool defines the price of the asset. This pool only moves if this pool is traded. If you don't know how an automated market maker and our DEX pools work, we have a great video, I think it's about the impermanent loss, where we explain how this whole automated market maker and pool works. And basically it's the case that we have in the pool both assets, and the pool per definition says the amount of coins on the one side equals in value the amount of coins on the other side. So if we have now, for example, this Tesla DFI pool, where we say we have 2 Tesla in the one side, in one part of the pool, and 400 DFI on the other side of the pool, and we would assume that now DFI is worth $1, that leads us to 1 Tesla is worth $200, because 1 Tesla is 200 DFI, so we have a price of 1 Tesla $200 on the DEX. If now DFI would move strongly, because it's a volatile asset, if it goes to $2 or it goes to 50 cents or whatever, then this pool doesn't change automatically. It's just this pool stays the same. Somewhere outside DFI is traded. And now the value of Tesla would move with the DFI move. So if DFI went to double the price, so 1 DFI is now $2, suddenly, because this pool stayed, 1 Tesla would be worth $400 on our DEX. And without big volume coming in and changing that, so selling the Tesla for DFI, it wouldn't change. And we don't have arbitrage here, because you can trade the Tesla, our decentralized Tesla, anywhere else. So it's only on our DEX. So there is no reason anybody should sell that unless they expect the price to go down again. But why should they expect that? I mean, you have some limits with the premium, with the minting, but you need a lot of volume to just stabilize the price. And that's a problem if you want a stable Oracle traded or Oracle following price. And you also have the problem, since you don't have real arbitrage, we added this arbitrage now with the future swaps, with the dUSD. But you couldn't do something like that. You couldn't add some mechanism like that if you have DFI on the other side, because it would mean that you swap in the future swap Tesla for DFI. So you would have the Luna case where you say you burn if there are too many Teslas, you burn the Tesla and produce DFI, which is exactly the Luna death spiral. I mean, it's not with a stablecoin then, but with any of the tokens, which would make the problem even worse, I guess. So you can't do that. And therefore, we would have a lot of problems to have these pools close to the Oracle. Since we have a dUSD, stable dUSD value, we can do that. And this pool only needs to move if Tesla moves. And that's when people are incentivized to buy it. When you say, okay, Tesla really moved up, so I buy Tesla on the decentralized exchange. So that's why we can't just take the stock DFI, but we need some reference token that references us these prices. And there, a dUSD referencing one USD is the simplest, because then it only needs to move the tokens, the pools only need to move when the asset price moves and not because the reference moves. And this is also something why we see the D-token system pretty stable right now. So although we have all the troubles with the discount and premium in the dUSD, although the whole crypto market crashed like crazy, and also the stock market crashes and goes down, we see that the D-stocks, our decentralized stock pools, are within the range of plus minus 5% around the Oracle price. So we have a pretty stable and resilient system there. And that's because we have it with the reference of the dUSD. dUSD is fixed at $1 in the volts and in the Oracle, and therefore we can do that. So that's why we need the dUSD as a reference there. Second thing is often coming up with the, understood that we can't have a volatile asset in the reference, but why not use USDD or USDC? We already have that as D tokens or as crypto tokens on the DeFi chain. Why not use them? And here the main point is we have this whole system of pools. I mean, that's maybe who watches Demystified often knows this picture already now, where we have all our assets or all our tokens and on the DEX, where we have the crypto tokens, DFI versus all the others. And then we have the decentralized stocks or assets, where we have dUSD paired with all of them. As we just said, those pools need some dUSD reference, and we have the gates out to the cryptoverse, crypto system. And in here, basically all of them, every arrow is a pool, all of those pools need dUSD to provide the liquidity for the DEX, because you need 50% of the whole liquidity in the system is dUSD. During the time when we had strong demand in March and everything, we needed 200 million dUSD just to fill this demand here, to fill the demand we have for liquidity in those pools. And there the problem is, if you try to get on an increasing demand 200 million USDD and USDC into the system, that's one hell of a job. I mean, I would love it if we have, right now, I think we have 15 million USDC on DeFiChain, and I think below 10 million USDD on DeFiChain. So we have some liquidity there, but not 200 million. And it would really be a problem to increase that amount so fast just because the demand goes up. That would lead to a strong premium or a strong imbalance in the system, because we have not enough reference token, basically, USDD or USDC in this case then, which then gives us again problems with the stability. And also the future swaps are not possible with the USDD. So there we need this possibility that we say D tokens are mintable, so you can create them with loans pretty fast. And if we have demand, that's fine. We create more tokens. So we also need the possibility to create the reference, the other side of the liquidity, in the same way, so that they both can increase and decrease in parallel, and therefore we have a stable part. This also leads us to the second question, which is really often asked question, which is the why don't we have just 0% algo ratio? Mm-hmm. And there we have where it gets complicated, because usually this is this argument that we say, okay, why not do it like MakerDAO with the DAI, where we say, okay, 100% collateralization, perfectly fine, it works, but they only have a stablecoin. MakerDAO is only the stablecoin, and there is no additional base utility needed or base liquidity needed. We have the need that our dUSD works as the liquidity in all those pools. So we have a base demand for dUSD in the system, which is a pretty strong. In the beginning, we saw that with a strong premium in dUSD because we have such a high base demand for dUSD. And therefore, we can't just say, we wait till all the people got into vaults and have enough incentive to create a loan, but we need the possibility to have algo dUSD. It might not be that we need a high ratio. In my opinion, the ratio should be as low as possible. So my target is definitely below 30%, maybe even below 20% algo ratio. But I'm 100% sure that we can't make it a requirement for the system to have a 0% algo ratio, to have a hard cap there and say any measurement, any mechanic that we put in there needs to ensure that there is a 0% algo ratio, because then we can't do any future swaps, which is the thing that keeps the D stocks currently so nicely within the range, and also keep the premium of the DUSD in a level if we see increased demand. So there is no, in my opinion, there is no way to have that on a 0% hard cap. It should be as low as possible, but because of this, it's not only a stablecoin, it's a stablecoin plus the liquidity and utility in the D-stock system. We need the possibility to have algo ratio and have sometimes up or down. Currently, all measures.
If somebody would ask you how high should the algo ratio be, because you said 0% algo ratio doesn't work for the argument given. So is there a value where you say that would be the optimum, that would be perfect?
Said this way, it might not work 0%. It might work. It might be, in my opinion, it could be that we say we have an average of 0%, and only during times of high demand or during times of market turbulences, we see an increase in the algo ratio to 5%, or maybe we have an average of 20%, because that's also one thing where we come to later again, but maybe already have that now. When we created the whole thing with the algo ratio, back beginning of May, we had a price of DFI of $4.4. Back then, we already had an algo ratio of 67%. So we have 2/3 of our DUSD were algo DUSD. No one noticed it back then, but we had that, but we had a stable back because we had enough loans. Then the whole market dropped. DFI dropped by 50%. Everything went by 50% down. We went to 2.2. The algo ratio, because loans were closed, the algo ratio went to 83%, but we still were on a bit shaky, but a peg, mainly shaky because that was when Terra Luna collapsed and everyone was like, okay, DeFi is crazy, and we had a lot of market swings. But it was basically still close to the peg with an 80% algo ratio. And then in the second drop in June, 12th of June, where the market dropped again, DFI fell below below $2. Then the algo ratio went above 90%, and then we started seeing a real discount, a real debag, because then we have not enough loans. So in my opinion, an algo ratio, and if you calculate it through, it's if you have an algo ratio of 20%, that means even if the market drops, the crypto market drops by 90%, with these numbers, we would still go to an algo ratio of 75%. So from 20% on the top to after 90% drop, we still have a 75% algo ratio, which would still, based on the historic numbers, be enough to keep a stable peg.
Okay.
And with the note that back then, when we had this stable peg with the 80% ratio, even then, we had no additional measures. We had no dynamic interest rate. We have no DEX stabilization fee and that stuff. We had no stablecoin pools to smoothen it out. So we have even a stronger mechanisms now. So that's why I think a 20% would be a good target based on the numbers. But I'm perfectly fine if we have an average algo ratio of 1%. If that works. I'm not sure if it works, but it should definitely be below 30%.
Okay.
So that's the thing. But that's why 0% algo ratio is not the solution, because then we definitely have a premium all the time because we can't fulfill the base supply or react to dynamic stock changes. And then the other question, the other side of this coin, why not 0%? Why not 100%? Why do we even need loan backed? And that's again a recap of the video we did about the measurements that we added when we added the DFIs. So just a quick, to not make this video too long. Generally, if you talk about a premium and the discount and the price of dUSD, we have in simple terms the demand for dUSD, how many dUSD do we need, and we have the supply in the system. If the demand goes above the supply, we have a premium because more people want it. If the demand goes below the supply, we have a discount. So this is kind of our discount bar. Now the thing is, if we go up, we can increase the supply by creating algorithmic dUSD or by creating loan-backed dUSD, so creating loans. Then the supply goes up. That's not the hard part because we saw that with the premium that we had. Increasing both is a valid way. The problem is if the supply or the demand now goes down, it's really hard to remove algorithmic dUSD. We see that currently burning dUSD, we can't just take dUSD. I mean, some people are suggesting that, but I think that would be a bit of a problem for the system if we just say everybody who has dUSD now loses 30% of their dUSD and they're just taking out of your address. So it's hard to get algorithmic dUSD just out of the system without anything. It's far easier to get loan-backed dUSD out of the system because you have the loan. If you have the incentive because your collateral goes down, you get liquidated, or you just say you want to close the loan. As soon as you close the loan-backed dUSD are gone. They're taken out of the system and pretty fast, and you don't have a problem with that. Because you just pay back your loan. You don't get you maybe even have an incentive to do that because of a negative interest or positive interest. So you pay less interest if you close the loan, so you want to close the loan. So if we close this, the whole thing goes down. But as we see here, we closed it, but we're still not on the level. Even if we need to go really low to be on this level that we say, okay, we manage, and even now we are not on that level. And at some point, the loan-backed are not enough to react to this demand change. If we have that in a different case, when we say, okay, we start, but in the beginning, our algorithmic dUSD are just like 20%, and the rest is loan-backed, and now we are in a stable system, and now the demand drops. Now it's easier that we say, okay, the loan-backed also go down by 50% because the demand is down, we are in a discount, and now we can stabilize that because we have enough loan-backed dUSD and get the stuff out of the system. So that's why we need loan-backed dUSD, and we need a high ratio of loan-backed dUSD so that we can react fastly to a decrease in demand, because that's what we see now. We have a decrease, we saw a decrease in demand, and now we can't react fast enough. So that's why we need a high or a low algo ratio, a high loan-backed ratio. So with that out of the way, we basically have we need the USD as a reference for the liquidity. We need the possibility to have an algo ratio because we need the flexibility to have the base demand and everything. We can't have it pure algo because we need loan back. And we want a stable price. So now this question, why do we have so complicated measures? Or some people say we have so
Some
complicated
people
measures.
say that, yes.
Yeah, say it this way. And the other thing is, we need to manage, as we had now, we need to manage both the dUSD price and the algo ratio basically at the same time. And at the same time, I mean, we need to make sure that the algo ratio is low enough all the time so that we have the loan back to work on the price. And this gives us basically a two-dimensional problem. And everybody who doesn't like 2D, well, sorry.
Better 2D than 3D?
Yes, definitely. So I'm happy that we have only 2D. But it's this two-dimensional problem where we say, okay, on the x-axis, we have the price of the USD. So in the middle, we have our line of the peg. That's where we want to be with the price. To the left is a high discount. To the right is a high premium. And on the y, we have the algo ratio, which is on the bottom, we have a 0% algo ratio. On the top, we have a 100% algo ratio. So our sweet spot where we want to be is somewhere here in the green area. As soon as we leave this area of the healthy algo ratio and good peg, that's where we don't want to be. That's where we want to go back from. I added this dotted line just as a reference to say, okay, do we maybe need a base supply of DUSD as an algo ratio? Or is our sweet spot really at the 0, or maybe somewhere here in the 0 to 20% range? So that's basically the problem that we need to solve, where we say, okay, wherever we are in this area, how do we get back into this green spot? That question? No.
No. I just want to say
no,
that
2D.
the greener the better, the redder the worse. Okay.
Exactly. That's that we want to go to the green. And maybe to have a bit of a reference what this means, what those areas means, let's look at the history of the USD, where we came from. So this line is basically how our DUSD moved over time. We start here. Back when we created the whole system, we didn't have any algo ratio, so we were at the 0%, and we were at the high premium. In the beginning, we were at 30% premium. Then we decided that this is not good, and we need to get this payback, DeFi payback. Until the hard fork was done and the payback was possible, we already reduced the premium. It went down to, I think, 10% before the hard fork, where we still had a 0% algo ratio. Then the hard fork was done, and we quickly moved to came to the peg because the premium was gone. But we started increasing the algo ratio. And this really went up, as I said, right a few days after the activation of this payback, we already went to a 60% algo ratio. So we were somewhere in that area. Still not too reddish, but we had a stable peg and we were here. Then the whole thing dropped, the whole DFI dropped, and we burned it. As I said before, end of May, we still had like 80%. This was roughly here, I guess, where we still had an 80% algo ratio, but the peg was there. Sometimes a bit shaky, but overall, regarding the whole market condition, we had a stable peg. And that's just this move up along the peg line with the 80%. And then the second drop happened. And then because of the second drop, we went above the 90% algo ratio. And we came into a strong discount, or this discount increased. Because of this, everything went further south, and the algo ratio went up and up and up. And we came to this point where I said we need to do something. And it's somewhere in this area where we were at 90% algo ratio, above 90% algo ratio, but with a high discount. And then we added these measures with the DEX fee and with the payout. And the DEX fee itself didn't change a lot. We were just a bit down, but not much regarding the peg. And then the algo ratio went down because of the second to last update, where we added this incentive. So the algo ratio went down strongly, or relatively strongly. And we had until the update, we had the peg. So we went down and came into this area where we said before we already were there with this algo ratio. We already had that and we were stable. But then emotions came in, and the whole thing that we see now, that even since we are in this algo ratio again, as long as people don't trust it, it doesn't help enough. We are at a stable, or at the area where we could have a stable peg because of the algo ratio, but people don't trust it. So we had this kind of spike into the healthy ratio, or healthish area again, and now we are a bit back here, but the algo ratio is going down, and now we basically need to make this turn into this direction. But I hope this explains a bit what these numbers means. Basically, here, this area is the area that we need to avoid most, because this is where you don't have any loans to help, but still a problem. This area wouldn't be a problem, honestly, because in this case, with a high premium, you incentivize a lot of loans so to get down here, so this is less a problem than this area. That's why we need these cases. And now let's talk about what measures do we have right now. And in the end, in my opinion, it's not that complicated measures. We just have two measures that are active over time that affect the user. One is currently active, one is not active yet. So what we currently have active is the DEX fee with the payout, which is on the one hand burning dUSD, so it gets the algo ratio down. On the other hand, incentivizes more loan-backed dUSD, which is also getting the algo ratio down. That's why it's a strong direction down. And since it's only on the selling of the dUSD, it decreases a bit of the sell pressure, a bit of the supply kind of, and therefore helps to move a bit toward a higher price. So it's a bit to the right and strongly down. What we have here, what we're currently having. That's the main thing that we currently have active. And once we are in an area where we have loans to play with again, to have that, then we activate this dynamic interest rate, which already is approved from the DFIP back in July, where we say as soon as we come into a high discount, we increase the interest rate. This incentivizes or forces people to close their loans, because high interest rate, we close the loans. Since we have loans, it's fine that they're closed. Closing loans creates demand for dUSD, so the price will go up. But also, since we close loans, the algo ratio would go up a bit. So as soon as we come into this area, we would move a bit up and to the right. If you come to the right side, it's an easier part because we have the negative interest rate. So as soon as we are in a strong premium, the negative interest kick in, and it on the one hand increases the loan back, so it decreases the algo ratio, so we go down, and it creates more supply for dUSD, so it also reduces the price. So this is a bit of, in this area, we would have a high interest rate that moves us a bit up, might go into the area where we then have an active DEX fee again with the payout that then pushes us back down. So we are back to the peg. And the main things that will drive this is the interest rate, depending on where are we at the peg, because that's the goal to get at the peg line. Okay. Additionally, we have the dUSD stable pools that smoothen everything out, because you're not so dependent on the volatile DFI connection. And the other two things that we have that don't affect the user, so no one notices them, but they provide us with a constant pressure down of the algo ratio, which is the interest burn, because currently interest rates, paid interest is burned in dUSD. So swap to dUSD and then burned. And the same with the auction fees. If any auction happens, the fees that you pay there are swapped to dUSD and then burned. So this is also something that pushes us down. So this all pushes us down into this area, or in the area where we can work with the interest rates, and as close as possible to the perfect sweet spot somewhere in here.
Okay. So the tools are in place. It's just a matter of time.
Currently, it's a matter of time, so we get into this area where we can activate those two. I think as soon as we activate the dynamic interest rates, we will have a perfectly stable peg, because then we have the strong incentive. As soon as we are in a slight discount, we have a strong incentive to close the loans and go back. Currently, we can't activate that because we are too far up. So if we have now 70 million in loans, 35 million dUSD loans netto, if we do not take the loop votes. So if you now increase the interest rate and half of those loans get closed, we would be at the perfect peg tomorrow. Because if we now take 50 million dUSD out of the system and pay back those loans, I'm pretty sure we would go back to perfect peg fastly. But then we push ourselves back up into this area. So if we go back to the history, so we are currently somewhere here, and if we now activate the interest rate, we would push ourselves here. And this is the area where as soon as some trouble, as soon as some uncertainty or anything happens, you don't have enough loans to work again. So we would push us up, go probably back here because people get scared by a small discount again, and then we would need the whole thing again. That's why we need to wait until we come into this area below the 50%, that we say, okay, now we activate it, that from then on it all works and we have the stable peg line where we can work with the interest rates. That's my case. Yeah.
Cool, understood. Fine. So, future will
a lot of talk, a lot of 2D stuff. But I got all my points in. I think today it's not too long a video. I hope.
No,
I hope it cleared up some stuff.
Yeah, I think it's very clear. So it showed 0% algo isn't working, 100% algo is not working, and we need actually quite simple tools to bring the peg in the sweet spot. So it's not overly complicated. I think people are a bit confused, but in some way I fully understand, because like additional things have been added on top. But if you see the full picture now, I think it makes it very clear why these tools are there and how they can help to bring it back.
Yeah.
So to speak.
It was also, we had some iterations over the last months, and that might have added to it's so complicated because we had the DFI payback. Then we removed the DFI payback and added the future swaps, which never got activated, and they got voted out before we even activated them. Then we had another DFIP with now we have real negative interest rates and not only low interest rates. And then the DEX fee payout, where we just added a small thing to the DEX fee. So in overall, it's not a big change, but it's one step after the other. And if you don't follow it closely, it's understandably sometimes hard to see what is the current picture, what do we have right now. Okay. But in the end, if you look at it like that, I think it's pretty clear that it's not that complicated. It's not that much. It's just measures.
Cool, fantastic. Thanks, Huy. So that means the picture can change over time. But today is the 3rd of October, when this is recorded, there might be a change in the future. The interest is of our idea, let's say like this, so people don't get confused. The idea is to make the system more stable. And of course, there are new findings, new ideas. Communities working pretty nicely together. There are some really great ideas. There are a lot of new people coming in who have additional ideas. And I think it's really not about a small group dedicating the way. It's really about listening to ideas that make complete sense. And I think you are in constant contact with people out there. And we just saw it recently that there are a couple of new proposals that make complete sense, and where there's a lot of calculations and they put really meaning behind their ideas, right? It was not just we want it like this, because I have the problem sometimes that people say we want it like this, but we don't know where we want to go. I think we all know where we want to be. The tricky part is to get there where we all want to be, right?
And I think that's also something that we need to distinguish. We have, on the one hand, if we are in this stable system where we say we are here somewhere, and with all these measures we have right now, when we say the thing that we have in place now would not create a lot of algo DUSD. It's not possible to create massive algo DUSD again. So it's really hard to get back into some unhealthy state after that. It would take a lot of a massive crash in the whole system and everything, in the whole crypto system, to get up again or get into the high ratios again once we are down here. So this is all working into that direction, and we have this stable thing. But this is for the case when we are healthy. Until then, we have now interesting proposals. The one that you mentioned, that help now on the short term, where we say, okay, this is something that we as a community need to do now, so that we get into this state faster. Because we see that it's working, we see that we are going into the right direction, algo ratio is dropping, the loans are increasing and everything. But we are not there yet, and the bear market is not playing in our cards right now. So we need more measures short term. So that's not things that complicated over time, because over time, I think most of the people agree that this is a good system to have it stable, to keep it in a stable state once we are there. But we now need to go there, and we need some additional measures to go there right now. And that's why the DEX fee is currently not on the calculated level, but on a higher level, to keep it, to give the system the possibility to go down there, while we have these additional measures and proposals to burn more dUSD, to have a buy pressure on the dUSD to get it stronger into the direction and stuff like that. So that's the difference between the design of the whole system, where should the system be once it's good, and how do we get there.
Okay, that's the tricky part. Cool. Yeah, Kügi, thanks a lot. Let me switch back to the larger screen. There you are. Very crisp and clear today.
Yeah. Now you see that I didn't.
The new webcam. Fantastic, and even shaved. Okay.
No, I'm not.
You're not. Okay, cool. Yeah, Kügi, hey, thanks a lot for the explanations. Thanks everybody for watching. If you get value out of that, leave us a like. If not, also we're very happy about comments. What do you want to see next time? I think they're gonna follow a couple of more videos in the near future to clarify things a little bit more. We are always happy to have your feedback out there. And of course, we're always happy if you watch Defichain Demystified. So that's it. Kügi, have a great day.
You too.
And everybody out there, you too, have a fantastic day and see you soon. Thank you very much for watching, and bye-bye.